I want to start off by quoting Mr. Keating from the Dead Poets Society. He said, "We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion and medicine, law, business, engineering. These are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for." I want to welcome you all to the Battleground High School's Poetry Out Loud competition. I think this is our 8th year having it here. I'm Daniel Hidden. I'm one of the English teachers here at Battleground High School. And I have several groups I want to thank before we move on. First, all the reciters who are here. Well done with all the work you did to get here. Also, I want to thank all the parents and friends that you have with you. Thank you for all the encouragement that you've given. And also to the teachers who have taken the time to make this happen in their classrooms. Also, I want to offer a special welcome to our judges back here in the back. We have Denny Waters, who makes really great things happen for us at our schools at the... Also from our local ESD, Catherine Livick. One of our esteemed principals, Scott Yingling. Another esteemed principal, Heather Ichimura. A legendary Battleground High School alumnus, principal alumnus, Jan Bird. Also over here, we have Ashley Mountain, another English teacher here, and she will be our prompter. And next to her is Julie Main, another English teacher here. She is our accuracy judge. And towards the back, we have our score calculators, Kathy Ferrier and Heather Smithline. So as many of you know, that Poetry Out Loud competition requires students to choose, memorize, understand, and recite a classic or contemporary poem. And they're scored on their ability to communicate the meaning of that poem to an audience. The reciters here today represent the hard work of many classes here at Battleground, and they are the winners of the class competitions. We are here to decide who will represent Battleground at the regional competition. From there, they may go on to state and then the national competition, where there's $50,000 in prizes. The contestants are scored in 6 categories: accuracy, physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and overall performance. Now, as audience members, there's something you can do. First, listen enthusiastically and also silence your phones. And then but feel free to applaud. And you can clap, snaps, use sign language, however you feel appropriate after each recitation. Now, contestants, watching your program for the order, and we'll pause while the judges tally up their scores, and we'll pause in between. I'll let you know who's on deck, and our on-deck seat is right here. So when you hear your name for on deck, just come on over here. Also, if you find yourself stuck, look to Ashley Mountain and just say line, and she can give you a line. And when you finish, please pass by Miss Mountain, and she will hand you your official certificate. All right. So on to our first recitations. So Corbin Ford will be first, and on deck is Cameron Avirett.
I'm Corbin Ford, and this is Fairy Tale Logic by A.E. Stallings. Fairy tales are full of impossible tasks. Gather the chin hairs of a man-eating goat. Oh, darn. Sorry. Gather the chin hairs of a man-eating goat, or cross a sulfuric lake in a leaky boat. I'm getting so nervous, darn it. Or across a sulfuric lake in a leaky boat. Select the prince from a row of identical masks, tiptoe up to a dragon where it basks, snatch its bone, count dust specks, mote by mote, or learn the phone directory by rote. Always it's impossible what someone asks. You have to fight magic with magic. You have to believe that you have something impossible up your sleeve. The language of snakes, perhaps an invisible cloak. An army of ants at your beck, or a lethal joke. The will to do whatever must be done. Marry a monster. Hand over your firstborn son.
Great. Great. So, before we move on to Cameron, and is that Julia? Yep. And Julia, Rainey will be on deck, and so our on-deck seat's over here. Let me just explain while the judges are counting up a little more detail about how they're what they're looking for. And so there was the 6 categories. One of the categories is physical presence. What the judges are actually looking for is eye contact with the entire audience, not just the judges in the back. They're looking at body language, good posture, confidence, also poise, their ease and comfort with the audience. All right. Okay. So up next is Cameron Avirett, and on deck is Julia Rainey.
Hello, I'm Cameron Avirett, and this is Those Various Scalpels by Marianne Moore. Those various sounds, consistently indistinct, like intermingled echoes struck from thin glasses, successively at random, the inflection disguised. Your hair, the tails of 2 fighting cocks, head to head in stone, like sculptured scimitars repeating the curve of your ears in reverse order. Your eyes, flowers of ice and snow, sown by tearing winds on the cordage of disabled ships. Your raised hand, an ambiguous signature. Your cheeks, those rosettes of blood on the stone floors of French chateaux, with regard to which the guides are so affirmative. Your other hand, a bundle of lances, all alike, partly hid by emeralds from Persia, and the fractional magnificence of Florentine goldwork. A collection of little objects, sapphires set with emeralds and pearls with a moonstone. Made fine with enamel in gray, yellow, and dragonfly blue. A lemon, a pear, and 3 bunches of grapes tied with silver. Your dress, a magnificent square cathedral tower of uniform and at the same time diverse appearance. A species of vertical vineyard, rustling in the wind in the storm of conventional opinion. Are they weapons or scalpels, wedded to brilliance with that hard majesty of sophistication which is superior to opportunity? These things are rich instruments with which to experiment. But why dissect destiny with components more specialized, with instruments more specialized than the components of destiny itself?
The next category I want to explain is voice and articulation. The judges are looking that the reciter projects to the audience and captures the attention of everyone, including the people in the back row. That the recitation is a fitting and natural pace, and also that there's pauses in the right spots. That a rhymed poem isn't too sing-song and also that they articulate, they pronounce every word in the poem. Also, at the Nationals, they'll have a microphone as well, just like here. All right. So, Julia Rainey is up next, and on deck is Ceili O'Donnell Field.
Since there is no escape, since at the end, my body will be utterly destroyed. This hand I love as I have loved a friend. This body I have tended, wept with, and enjoyed. Since there is no escape, even for me, who love life with a love too sharp to bear. The scent of orchards in the rain, the sea in hours alone, too still and sure for prayer. Since darkness waits for me, then all the more let me go down as waves sweep to the shore in pride, and let me sing with my last breath. In these few hours of light, I lift my head. Life is my lover. I shall leave the dead, if there is any way to baffle death.
While the judges are tallying, I want to explain dramatic appropriateness. And this is how the reciter can subtly enhance the understanding and enjoyment of the poem through gestures, but without overshadowing the language of the poem. So the judges look for that they're not acting out a poem, but just that the movements or accents really enhance the language itself. So occasional gestures might be appropriate, and that the delivery of the poem isn't monotonous. Okay. So up next is Ceili O'Donnell Field, and on deck is Ryan Duffy.
Oh man, so tall. All right. I'm Ceili O'Donnell, and my poem is In Praise of Pain by Heather McHugh. A brilliance takes up residence in flaws, a brilliance all the unchipped faces of design refuse. The wine collects its starlets at lips' fault, sunlight where the nicked glass angles, and affection where the eye is least correctable, where arrows of unquivered light are lodged, and where someone else's eyes have come to be concerned. For beauty's sake, assault and drive and burn the devil from the simply perfect sun. Demand a birthmark on the skin of love, a tremble in the touch, and come a cry, and let the silverware of nights be flecked, the moon pocked to distribute more or less indwelling alloys of its dim and shine by nip and tuck, by chance's dance of laws. The brightness drawn and corded on a sheet, the moment cracked upon the bed will last, as if you soldered them with moon and flux, and break the bottle of the eye to see what lights are spun of accident and glass.
All right. While they're tallying, another category that they're looking for is evidence of understanding. And this category is to evaluate the comprehension of and mastery of the poem, that they truly understand everything about this poem, that they understand all the words and all the phrases in the poem. And so they're looking for tone and volume and all kinds of subtle nuances in the delivery of it. And that shows that the reciter understands it well. And up next is Ryan Duffy, and on deck is Anita Pereverzev.
Hi, my name is Ryan Duffy, and my poem is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one, as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, how I kept the first for another day! Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
One of our final categories is overall performance. And this is where the recitation is more than the sum of its parts. Did they captivate the audience with the language of the poem? Did they bring the audience to a better understanding of the poem? Did their voice, their presence, all their movements all come together to breathe life into the poem? And did they show the mastery of recitation? Up next is Anita Pereverzev, and on deck is Lillian Reisbick.
Hello, my name is Anita Pereverzev, and I will be reciting I Sit and Sew by Alice Moore Dunbar-Nelson. I sit and sew. A useless task it seems, my hands grown tired, my head weighed down with dreams. The panoply of war, the martial tread of men, grim-faced, stern-eyed, gazing beyond the ken. Of lesser souls whose eyes have not seen death, nor learned to hold their lives but as a breath. But I must sit and sew. I sit and sew. My heart aches with desire, that pageant terrible, that fiercely pouring fire. On wasted fields and writhing grotesque things, once men my soul in pity flings. Appealing cries yearning only to go there in the holocaust of hell, those fields of woe. But I must sit and sew. The little useless seam, the idle patch, why dream I hear beneath my homely thatch, when there they lie in sudden mud and rain, pitfully calling me, the quick ones in the slain, you need me, Christ! It is no roseate dream. It stifles me, this pretty feudal seam. It stifles me. God, must I sit and sew?
And our final category is the accuracy category. And we have a separate judge for the accuracy category. She's looking for any missed words, missed or incorrect words during the recitation. There's small deductions for each of those. And also, if your recitation is perfect, there's a little bonus to the score for that. And reciting next is Lillian Reisbick, and on deck is Jack Harvison.
Lazy by David Yezzi. I don't say things I don't want to say, or chew the fat with fat cats just because. With favor givers who want favors back, I tend to pass on going for the ask. I send, instead, a series of regrets. Slip the winding snares that people lay. The unruffledness I feel as a result, the lank repose, the psychic field of rye swayed in wavy air is my respite among the chivalry of clanging egos on the packed commuter train again tonight. Sapping and demeaning, it takes a lot to get from bed to work and back to bed. I barely go an hour before I'm caught wincing at the way that woman laughs or he keeps clucking at his magazine. And my annoyance fills me with annoyance. It's laziness that lets them seem unreal. A radio with in and out reception, blaring like hell when it finally hits a station. The song that's on is not the one I'd hoped for. So I wait distractedly for what comes next.
All right, I apologize for this next part. As our judges are counting up scores, we need to have something to do. So I'm going to tell you some poetry jokes. How do poets say hello? Hey, haven't we metaphor? What did the poet say to Luke Skywalker? Metaphors be with you. They're not done yet, dang. What is the highest honor among cowboy poets? A poet laureate. All right. Next, we have Jack Harvison, and on deck is Gabrielle Steinbrenner.
My name is Jack Harvison, and this is Himself by Thomas P. Lynch. He'll have been the last of his kind here then. The flagstones, dry stone walls, the slumping thatch, out offices and cow cabins, the patch of haggard he sowed spuds and onions in. All of it a century out of fashion, all giving way to the quiet, rising damp of hush and vacancy once he's gone. There's long contemplations at the fire, cats curling at the door, the dogs lame waltzing, the kettle, the candle, and the lamp, all still, all quenched, all darkened. The votives and rosaries and Sacred Heart, the Pope and Kennedy and the novenas, the bucket, the basket, the latch and lock, the tractor that took him into town and back for the pension check and messages and pub, the chair, the bedstead, and the chamber pot. Everything will amount to nothing much. Everything will slowly disappear, and some grandniece, a sister's daughter's daughter, one blue August, in 10 or 15 years will marry well and will inherit it. The cottage ruins, the brown abandoned land. They'll come to see it in a hired car. The kindly Liverpudlian she's wed, in concert with a local auctioneer, will post a sign to offer site for sale. The acres that he labored in will merge with the neighbor's growing pasturage, and all of the decades of him will begin to blur, easing as the far fields of his holding did, up the hill, over the cliff, into the sea.
Where do poems come from? Poetries. How does a poet sneeze? Haiku. Why are poets always so poor? Because rhyme doesn't pay. Did you hear about the guy whose whole left side was cut off? Don't worry, he's all right now. All right. Up next is Gabrielle Steinbrenner, and on deck is Olivia Ledbury.
I will be reciting The Season of Phantasmal Peace by Derek Walcott. Then all the nations of birds lifted together the great net of the shadows of this earth. In multitudinous dialects, twittering tongues, stitching and crossing it, they lifted up the shadows of long pines down trackless slopes, the shadows of glass-faced towers down evening streets, the shadow of a frail plant on a city sill. The net rising soundless as night, the birds' cry soundless, until there was no longer dusk or season, decline or weather, only this passage of phantasmal light that not the narrowest shadow dared to sever. And men could not see, looking up, what the wild geese drew, what the ospreys trailed behind them in silvery ropes that flashed in the icy sunlight. They could not hear battalions of starlings waging peaceful cries, bearing the net higher, covering this world like the vines of an orchard, or a mother drawing the trembling gauze over the trembling eyes of a child fluttering to sleep. It was the light that you will see at evening on the side of a hill in yellow October, and no one hearing knew what change had brought into the raven's cawing, the killdeer's screech, the ember-circling chuff, such an immense, soundless, and high concern for the fields and the cities where the birds belong, except it was their seasonal passing. Love, made seasonless, or, from the high privilege of their birth, something brighter than pity for the wingless ones below them, who shared dark holes in windows and in houses. And higher they lifted the net with soundless voices above all change, betrayals of falling suns. And this season lasted one moment, like the pause between dusk and darkness, between fury and peace. But, for such as our earth is now, it lasted long.
So I'm reading a book about anti-gravity. It's impossible to put down. I couldn't quite remember how to throw a boomerang. It eventually came back to me, though. I was also wondering why the baseball was getting bigger. Then it hit me. You guys are a great audience. I do want to... I do want to remind you, please keep your phones away and things like that so we don't do anything to distract our presenters. Let's see, up next is Olivia Ledbury, and on deck is Christian Lenzini.
My name is Olivia Ledbury, and I will be reciting The Obligation to Be Happy by Linda Pastan. It is more onerous than the rights of beauty or housework, harder than love. But you expect it of me casually, the way you expect the sun to come up not in spite of rain or clouds, but because of them. And so I smile, as if my own fidelity to sadness were a hidden voice. That downward tug on my mouth, my old suspicion that health and love are brief irrelevancies, no more than laughter in the warm dark strangled at dawn. Happiness. I try to hoist it on my narrow shoulders again, a knapsack heavy with gold coins. I stumble around the house, bump into things. Only Midas himself would understand.
I used to have a fear of hurdles, but I got over it. Did you hear about the guy who got hit in the head with a can of soda? Don't worry, it was a soft drink. To write with a broken pencil is pointless. All right. So up next is Christian Lenzini, and on deck is Sydney Marsh.
Hi, my name is Christian Lenzini, and I will be reciting On Quitting by Edgar Albert Guest. How much grit do you think you've got? Can you quit a thing you like a lot? You may talk of pluck, it's an easy word, and where you go, it's often heard. But can you tell to a jot or guess just how much courage you now possess? You may stand up to trouble and keep your grin, but have you tackled self-discipline? Have you ever issued commands to you to quit the things you like to do? And then when tempted and sorely swayed, those rigid orders have you obeyed? Don't boast of your grit till you've tried it out, nor prate to men of your courage stout. For it's easy enough to retain a grin. In the face of a fight, there's a chance to win. But the kind of grit that's good to own is the stuff you need when you're all alone. How much grit do you think you've got? Can you turn from joys you like a lot? Have you ever tested yourself to know how far with yourself your will can go? If you want to know if you have grit, just pick out a joy that you like and quit. It's a bully sport and it's an open fight. It'll keep you busy both day and night. For the toughest kind of game you'll find is to make your body obey your mind. And you never will know what is meant by grit unless there's something you've tried to quit.
Is anyone going to see Star Wars tomorrow? All right. So why did Anakin Skywalker cross the road? To get to the dark side. Why is Yoda such a good gardener? He's got a green thumb, yep. Who serves food at the Death Star restaurant? Darth Vader. It's one of my favorites. What do you call Chewbacca when he has chocolate in his hair? A chocolate chip Wookiee. Up next is Sydney Marsh, and on deck is Mikhail Sokachev.
My name is Sydney Marsh, and this is Degrees of Grey in Philipsburg by Richard Hugo. You might come here Sunday on a whim, say your life broke down. The last good kiss you had was years ago. You walk these streets laid out by the insane, past hotels that didn't last, bars that did. The tortured try of local drivers to accelerate their lives. Only churches are kept up. The jail turned 70 this year. The only prisoner is always in, not knowing what he's done. The principle supporting business now is rage. Hatred of the various grays the mountain sends. Hatred of the mill, the silver bill repeal, the best-liked girls who leave each year for Butte. One good restaurant and bars can't wipe the boredom out. The 1907 boom, 8 going silver mines, a dance floor built on springs. All memory resolves itself in gaze. In panoramic green, you know the cattle eat, or 2 stacks high above the town. 2 dead kilns, the huge mill in collapse. For 50 years that won't fall, finally down. Isn't this your life? That ancient kiss still burning out your eyes? Isn't this defeat so accurate? The church bell simply seems a pure announcement. Ring and no one comes. Don't empty houses ring? Are magnesium and scorn sufficient to support a town, not just Philipsburg, but towns of towering blondes, good jazz and booze the world will never let you have until the town you come from dies inside? Say no to yourself. The old man, 20 when the jail was built, still laughs, although his lips collapse. Someday soon, he says, I'll go to sleep and not wake up. You tell him, no, you're talking to yourself. The car that brought you here still runs. The money you buy lunch with, no matter where it's mined, is silver. And the girl who serves your food is slender, and her red hair lights the wall.
What did the Jedi say to the sheep? May the Force be with you. What did the sweet potato say to Luke Skywalker? I am your father. Why shouldn't you ask Yoda for money? He's always a little short. All right. Up next is Michael Sokachev, and on deck is Grace Hanford.
I'm Michael Sokachev. The poem is Serenade by Mary Weston Fordham. Sleep, love, sleep. The night's wind sigh in soft lullaby. The lark is at rest with the dew on her breast. So close those dear eyes that barred their hue from heavens so blue. Sleep, love, sleep. Sleep, love, sleep. The night's wind sigh in soft lullaby. Sleep, love, sleep. The pale moon looks down on the valleys around. The glow moth is flying, the south wind is sighing, and I am low lying. Sleep, love, sleep.
What do you call potatoes that turn to the dark side? Vader tots. Where does Princess Leia go for shopping for clothes? The Darth Mall. Okay, here's one for the trivia people. What is Jabba the Hutt's middle name? Ah, right, you guys are good. Up next is Grace Hanford, and on deck is Lainey Pham.
My name is Grace Hanford, and I'll be reciting the poem Dear Reader by Rita Mae Reese. You have forgotten it all. You've forgotten your name, where you lived, who you loved. Why? I'm simply your nurse, terse and unlovely. I point to things and remind you what they are. Chair, book, daughter, soup. And when we are alone, I tell you what lies in each direction. This way is death, and this way, after a longer walk, is death. And this way is death, but you won't see it until it's right in front of you. Once after your niece had been to visit you, I said something about how you must love her, or she must love you, or something useless like that. You gripped my forearm in your terrible swift hand and said, she is everything. You gave me a shake. Everything to me. And then you fell back into the well. Deep into the well of everything. And I stand at the edge and call, chair, book, daughter, soup.
What did the lunch lady say to Luke Skywalker? Use the fork, Luke. What did the ranker say after he ate a Wookiee? Chewy. What do you call a pirate droid? R2D2. Up next is Lainey Pham, and on deck is Brooke Kirby.
Beautiful Wreckage by W.D. Earhart. What if I didn't shoot the old lady running away from our patrol? Or the old man in the back of the head? Or the boy in the marketplace? Or what if the boy, but he didn't have a grenade, and the woman in Hue didn't lie in the rain in a mortar pit with 7 Marines just for food? Gaffney didn't get hit in the knee. Ames didn't die in the river. Ski didn't die in a medevac chopper between Quang Thien and Da Nang. In Vietnamese, Quang Thien means place of angels. What if it really was, instead of the place of rotting sandbags, incoming heavy artillery, rats, and mud? What if the angels were Ames and Ski? Or the lady, the man, and the boy? And they lifted Gaffney out of the mud and healed his shattered knee? What if none of it happened the way I said? Would it all be a lie? Would the wreckage be suddenly beautiful? Would the dead rise up and walk?
What do you get when you cross Darth Vader and an elephant? An elevator. Which side of a Wookiee has the most hair? The outside. Okay. 2 antennas met on a roof. They fell in love, got married. The ceremony wasn't much, but the reception was excellent. Up next is Brooke Kirby. On deck is Emily Martinez.
My name is Brooke Kirby, and I'll be reciting Broken Promises by David Kirby. I've met them in dark alleys, limping and one-armed. I've seen them playing cards under a single light bulb, and tried to join in, but they refused me rudely, knowing I would only let them win. I've seen them in the foyers of theaters, coming back late from the interval, long after others have taken their seats, and in deserted shopping malls, late at night, peering at things they could never buy. And I have found them wandering in a wood, where I too have wandered. This morning, I caught one, small and stupid, too slow to get away. It was only a promise I had made to myself once, and then forgot. But it screamed and kicked at me, and ran to join the others, who looked at me with reproach in their long, sad faces. When I drew near, they scurried away, even though they will sleep in my yard tonight. I hate them for their ingratitude. I, who have kept countless promises, as dead now as Shakespeare's children. You bastards, I scream. You have to love me. I gave you life.
So for Thanksgiving, a lady was picking through the frozen turkeys at the grocery store, but she couldn't find one big enough to feed her entire family. So she asked the guy working there, do these turkeys get any larger? And the stock boy said, no, ma'am, they're dead. I went to go buy some camouflage trousers the other day, but I couldn't find any. So an invisible man marries an invisible woman. Their kids were nothing to look at. Up next is Emily Martinez. And on deck is Amy Eels.
Hello, my name is Emily Martinez, and I'm here to perform The Moon Now Rises to Her Absolute Rule by Henry David Thoreau. The moon now rises to her absolute rule, and the husbandman and the hunter acknowledge her for their mistress. Asters and golden rain in the fields, but the life everlasting withers not. The fields are reaped and shorn of their pride, but an inward verdure still crowns them. And the thistle scatters its down on the pool, and yellow leaves clothe the river. But naught disturbs the serious life of men. And behind the sheaves and under the sod, there lurks a ripe fruit, which the reapers haven't gathered. The true harvest of the year, the boreal fruit, which it bears forever, with fondness annually watering and maturing it. But man never severs the stalk, which bears this palatable fruit.
I once wrote a novel. It was about this guy who had a small garden. Didn't have much of a plot. I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now. And a bicycle, it can't stand on its own because it's too tired. Up next is Amy Eels, and on deck is Sandra Fashul.
Prisoners by Denise Levertov. Though the road turn at last to death's ordinary door, and we knock there, ready to enter, and it opens easily for us, yet all the long journey we shall have gone in chains, fed on knowledge apples acrid and riddled with grubs. We taste other food that life, like a charitable farm girl, holds out to us as we pass, but our mouths are puckered, a taint of ash on the tongue. It's not joy that we've lost. Wildfire, it flares, in dark or shine as it will. What's gone is common happiness. Plain bread we could eat with the old apple of knowledge. That old one, it griped us sometimes, but it was firm, tart, sometimes delectable. The ashen apple of these days grew from poisoned soil. We are prisoners and must eat our ration, all the long road in chains, even if, after all, we come to death's ordinary door with time, smiling its ordinary, long ago smile.
A dog gave birth to puppies near the road. It was ticketed for littering. A chicken crossing the road is poultry in motion. Well, a butcher backed into a meat grinder. He got a little behind in his work. Up next is Sandra Fashul, and on deck is Maddie Aerosmith.
Mr. Darcy by Victoria Chang. In the end, she just wanted the house. And a horse, not much more. What if he didn't own the house? Or worse, not even a horse. How do we separate the things from a man, the man from the things? Is a man still the same without his reins? Here, it rains every 15 minutes. It would be foolish to marry a man without an umbrella. Did Cinderella really love the prince, or just the prince on the curtain in the ballroom? Once I went window shopping, but I didn't want a window. When do you know it is time to get a new man? One who can win more things at the fair. I already have 4 stuffed pandas from the fair. I won fair and square. Is it time to be less square? To wear something more revealing? In North and South, she does the dealing, gives him the money in the end, but she falls in love with him when he has the money, when he is still running away. If the water is running in the other room, is it wrong for me to not want to chase it because it owns nothing else? When I wave to a man, I love what happens when another man with a lot more bags waves back.
Without geometry, life is pointless. We didn't, thank you. He didn't tell his mother he ate some glue. His lips were sealed. And 2 hats were hanging on a hat rack in the hallway. One hat says to the other, "You stay here, I'll go on ahead." I've been to the dentist several times, so I know the drill. Up next is Maddie Aerosmith, and she'll be our final presenter.
Hi, I'm Maddie Aerosmith. Today I will be reciting A Locked House by W.D. Snodgrass. As we drove back, crossing the hill, the house still hidden in the trees, I always thought of fool's fear, that it might have caught fire, someone could have broken in, as if things must have been too good here. Still, we always found it locked tight, safe and sound. I mentioned that once as a joke. No doubt we spoke of the absurdity, to fear some dour god's jealousy of our good fortune. From the farm next door, our neighbors saw no harm came to the things we cared for here. What did we have to fear? Maybe I should have thought all such things rot, fall. Barns, houses, furniture. We too are stronger than we were apart. We've grown together. Everything we own can burn. We know what counts. Some such idea. We said as much. We'd watched friends driven to betray, felt that love drained away some self they need. We'd said love, like a growth, can feed on hate we turn in and disguise. We warned ourselves that you might despise me, hate all we both loved best. None of us ever guessed. The house still stands, locked as it stood, untouched a good 2 years after you went. Some things passed in the settlement. Some things slipped away. Enough's left that I come back sometimes. The theft and vandalism were our own. Maybe we should have known. Thank you.
All right, at this point, we're gathering up all the scores, and our scoring judges are tallying up all the scores as fast as they can so they don't have to listen to all my knock-knock jokes. Knock-knock. Who's there? Canoe. Can you help me with my homework? Knock-knock. Merry. Merry Christmas. Soon. Knock-knock. Orange. Orange, you going to let me in? Knock-knock. A knee. Anyone you want. Yeah, that one's kind of lame. Knock-knock. Iva. I have a sore hand from knocking. Knock, knock. Doesn't anybody want to let me in? Knock, knock. Needle. Need a little money for the movies? Knock, knock. Harry. Hurry up, it's cold out here. I got pages. Knock, knock. A herd. I heard you were home, so I came over. Knock, knock. A door. A door is between us. Open up. Okay. Knock, knock. Otto. Otto, no, I've got amnesia. Uh-oh. Knock, knock. Lettuce. Let us in. It's cold out here. Knock, knock. Noah. Know a good place where I can get some new jokes? Oh, it looks like we're getting close. Let's see. Oh, this one's fun. Knock, knock. Dwayne. Dwayne the bathtub. It's overflowing. Knock, knock. Impatient cow. Moo. You ready? All right.
This has never happened before.
All right. So we have our results. In third place is Jack Harvison. And we have something unprecedented happen. It's never happened before. With all the scores that were put in there, we have an exact tie for, yes, exact. I mean, it goes out 4 decimal places. And it's a tie for first place. So our first and second, and we will look up in the rules and find out a tiebreaker soon. And so our tie for first is Lainey Pham and Sandra Fashul. Okay, we'll do it that way. But, or you could. Hey, well, why don't you both hold them right
Sounds
now?
great. Okay.
Between the two of you, and in front of the tiger, so we can get some great pictures. Thank you all so much for coming out this afternoon. And if you want to get some pictures in front of the tiger, if you want to get pictures with your contestant, then please do come on up. But let's have one last round of applause for all our reciters today. Have a wonderful holiday season.